I'll get you from 25% to 8% body fat in 7 simple steps. I'm Dr. Christian Poulos, founder of Doctor's Orders Coaching and your favorite lifting man for your fitness plan. Listen, I've been picking up heavy stuff for decades now, and I've gone from pretty fluffy to shredded abs several times in my history, so I'm here to tell you how to do it too. The process is not easy, but the more times I did it, I always picked up some new tidbits, so I'm here to share them along with you, just so you get in shape more efficiently. And yes, I've slipped up sometimes. Cravings, nights out, med school exams, they all happen, it's part of life. And I'm not telling you need to sacrifice those things to get shredded. So realizing this, I've developed a system to bypass all of life's annoyances that may throw you off your diet. I've used these techniques with several clients like Bill and Michael, who shredded body fat, improved all their health markers, and just lived a more wholesome and purposeful life now. And these guys both have families, demanding careers, so I want to make sure that you're learning how to do this despite all those things that are going to happen in life. If they can do it, you can too, trust me. But ask yourself, why are you doing this? Is it even worth it? The answer to me is always yes, it is worth it. Look good, feel good, it's a very real thing. Sacrifice is required, but you always become a better person after these things. Lifting weights and losing fat is great, but it is more about the discipline and work ethic that you develop just from doing something like this that's going to take you a lot farther in life. So the average male body fat is around 25%. For women, it is around 30%. If you want visible abs, you'll probably need to shoot around for that 10 to 15% range. And then for women, it might be that 13 to 20% range. You will feel better, look better, live longer. Sound like something you want? To lose fat, you'll need a combination of training and diet. That is the bottom line of getting in shape. So here you go, my 7-step framework. If you pay attention, I'll show you exactly how to execute it. Step 1 is a calorie deficit. All right, the ultimate deficit to go from 25% to 8% body fat. To do this, you must follow the mandatory rule, be in a calorie deficit. This means burning more calories than your body takes in per day. This involves exercise, non-exercise activity, and your own metabolic rate. The bigger the deficit, the more fat and weight you're going to burn in the long run. Now, before you go out in the world and consume only celery and oxygen to survive and try and thrive, listen, don't go overboard with a deficit that's too massive. You don't want your diet to be hard to follow, and you certainly don't want to starve yourself and then end up binging a few months later. I don't want you to be that person that smells a pizza restaurant from 6 miles away and wants to order it. Now, if you're starting on the heavier side, you could definitely aim for a 500 to 1,000 calorie deficit. But if you're leaner and want to live a little bit more flexible lifestyle, or you don't want to lose fat too quickly, a 200 to 300 or even 400 calorie deficit should do the trick. Trust the doctor man with abs. Okay, so there's 3 different ways of creating this deficit. 1, you could eat less. 2, you can move more. Or 3, you can move more and eat less. That is the genius route. It's like having your cake and eating it, kinda. For example, if you want to achieve the 500 calorie deficit, you could burn an extra 300 calories from your workouts, eat 200 calories less than you would normally, or you could do 500 calories of eating less and you don't do any extra workouts to create that deficit. It's all about balance and finding what works for you. I call it the cake and crunches ratio. The copyright's pending on that one. If you manage to stick to a 500 calorie deficit each day, it's going to conveniently burn 3,500 calories over the course of the week, which is conveniently 1 pound of fat. So if you need to lose about 12 pounds of fat, aim and estimate for about a 12-week weight loss period. This may seem daunting at first, and that's why it's always important to start this sooner rather than later and not be trying to have a time crunch leading up to an event or something like that where you need to be in shape. Give yourself enough time in case you do slip up and fall off, and the experience is much more gratifying as a result. Just think it as your own, a tale of epic proportions and battles won, or whatever works for you in doing this. Just don't sit on the couch. You know, the longer you sit on the couch, the longer it takes to get abs. Something that can help you figure out your own calorie intake that is required is figuring out your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of what that is. So here's a cute little graph. BMR is your basal metabolic rate. This is the bare minimum calories you need for your body to survive and perform essential functions. You can use this as your floor of thinking about what to eat. It is a pretty weird formula, I know. There's plenty of calculators online that you could use. Next is TEF, which stands for thermic effect of food. This accounts for about 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. Very easy to estimate this number. Just multiply your basal metabolic rate by 0.1 and you get that number. This will give you the calories you burn each day just by eating. It takes some energy to process the food that you eat, and that is this value. Still with me? Okay. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And I promise you don't need to remember that. This is the amount of calories you burn just by moving around the day, fidgeting, tapping your leg like this, waving your hands, dancing to music in the car. And the odd thing is that you could burn up to 2,000 calories extra per day just by fidgeting and doing these unconscious movements throughout your day. We all know someone who eats everything in sight and they don't gain weight. They are more of a fidgety person generally. So this could be one of the reasons why. And last one is exercise. These are the calories burned as a result of your workout. It's a bit weird to calculate, and you can use a fitness band that tests those things and gives you an estimated number, although that's probably not accurate either, but it's just something to factor into the formula too. Plug all these in, boom, you get your TDEE. Simple enough. Probably just use a calculator. It'll be easier to get that way. Now when we diet, sometimes we get hungry. Other times very hungry. So to be effective in our mission here, we got to find a diet that works for us. So we're not too hungry, but we're still on track. And that for me is a sustainable diet. Check out my last video if you want some tips on what a good diet can look like, but don't go insane by only eating 3 peas and the dew from morning grass as the base of your nutrition. We're here to get in shape and stay in shape. Staying in shape is the key. So what about food choices? I'm going to keep this pretty simple for you. Check out the last video of my review on diets if you want a little bit more information on this. Just stop eating processed and fast foods. It's pretty simple. Every fitness person on the internet says so. There is truth to it. Speaking of dialing in food choices, let's talk macros for a second. If you want to get super nerdy with this, definitely start tracking your macros. Macros are your proteins, carbs, and fats, the molecules that create calories. It's a fairly easy calculation too. You're going to want to prioritize protein, and you can definitely use that in one of the calculators. I will link them below in the description. But caveat with macros, don't become that person that makes their whole personality around tracking their macros and bringing their food scale everywhere. No one likes that. Look, there are a lot of different diets out there, carnivore, keto, vegan, etc. They all can work to a certain extent. It is important just to figure out what works for you and take bits and pieces from all of them. Step number 2, we have strength training. Step number 2, I call ripped with resistance training. That actually sounds ridiculous, never mind. Research shows that strength training is often the missing piece to losing body fat effectively. If you're like me, you started your fitness journey as skinny fat. You were skinny with no muscle, fat hanging over that, so you had the worst of both worlds, no muscle and lots of fat. This really isn't a fat loss issue, it is more so a muscle gain issue. Everything is a muscle gain issue. Muscle solves everything. Muscle mass will help you look leaner at a higher body weight. Look at all our favorite strongmen. These guys are like 6'7", 400 pounds, but they have like thick brick wall abs. There's a lot of fat laying over that, but those abs are thick. That is why they push through and are visible, despite this guy being like 400 pounds. This is how Eddie Hall can eat like 2 family-sized cheesecakes every single day and still have abs bigger than my head. You will look better as a result of lifting, and no, it will not make you bulky too quickly. If you are a female, your hormones will prevent you from gaining weight too rapidly, and you will have a nice figure the longer that you lift. Okay, so how do you start this? At minimum, 2 or 3 full body workouts a week is a great start. If you do want to work a routine that takes out all the guesswork, I have some free ones for you if you DM me routine on Instagram. The biggest key is to hit around 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. Use proper technique, don't ego lift. I don't like you if you ego lift, and focus on just trying to get stronger each session. This is called progressive overload. And it doesn't even have to be at a gym. You can work out at home and make gains. Get some good resistance bands or a pull-up bar, maybe a medicine ball, and you have everything you need. Go make some gains. Step number 3, we have cardio. Do you need to do cardio to lose fat? No. But should you? Probably. Will you complain about it? Also probably. Cardio helps the body create that deficit that we were talking about earlier. But I promise at some point after losing a substantial amount of body fat, you're not gonna wanna cut calories anymore. You're gonna wanna burn them from exercise. You don't want to crash and binge, be all tired and all miserable from eating 1,500 calories or something like that. So cardio is definitely helpful. You don't want to let your body get to that point where you're eating so few calories that you're starting to miss out on essential nutrients for your body. So what kind of cardio should you do? There are 2 major types. There's LISS, which is low intensity steady state, and HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. And then there's somewhere in the middle, you can do some moderate intensity stuff too. Research shows that both fat and carbohydrates are burned during exercise, and the proportions vary based on exercise intensity. So as intensity increases, like in high intensity interval training, your body's gonna be burning more carbs in the form of glycogen in order to burn calories. However, you're burning carbs during the workout, but then later in the day, research shows that you're gonna be burning more fat later in the day. As with LISS, that is lower intensity, you're gonna be burning more fat during the workout itself, but as a result, you're going to be burning more carbs later in the day. Net result, it evens out. Just pick one that you like and just do it. Low intensity steady state is nice because you can just put your phone up on a nice treadmill or something, walk for like 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, and then you're done. You watched a show that you like or some videos or even studied. That's what I did in med school. And then you did some cardio. HIIT, you get done a lot faster. You're going hard. It feels good. You get a nice little runner's high, but it is a little bit more taxing to your system, especially if you're already eating lower calories and you're training pretty hard. So maybe tapping into your recovery a little bit. How about I just tell you what I do? At the beginning of a fat loss phase, I try to do 1 or 2 cardio sessions for 20 minutes a week and hit 10,000 steps a day. Eventually, my fat loss stalls. I may bump up the cardio sessions, may add another 20-minute session a week. Eventually, I'll bump it up. I may do 11 or 12,000 steps a day. Then I may do 30-minute sessions a week for cardio. Maybe bump up the steps again, 16,000 steps a day. So I'm slowly and incrementally increasing things as I stall. I'm using this as a tool, not burning myself out with 2 hours of cardio a day, trying to lose weight as fast as possible. That is going to cause you to burn out and fall off track. You want to make sure it's slow and steady and like a drip. How do I get all these steps though? Pretty simple. I have 2 big doggies. I also live by a pretty park. So I lose fat and get my steps in by walking my 2 big doggies by the park. I also have a desk treadmill. This one may not be everyone's cup of tea, but if you work from home and have a standing desk, it could be helpful to get some extra steps in too. Cardio doesn't have to be the most boring thing of your life, as I mentioned. You could even go play basketball with your friends, go play softball, volleyball, baseball, any sport that has some camaraderie to it. I know pickleball is popular, or like I said, you could just prop up your phone, watch some Netflix while walking on the treadmill. So cardio can be fun, pick what works for you. Step number 4, we have tracking and progression. This is pretty simple. Weigh yourself most days, write it down. This is really simple and it helps so much. Next step, weigh your food if you want to track your macros. Log it into an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. If you don't want to weigh stuff, learn to estimate. It's going to help you out. I have an estimation guide if you're interested in that too. More free stuff for everyone. I'll make this pretty simple. The goal is to lose as much weight as you possibly can while doing as little as possible. If you could lose fat eating 5,000 calories, doing no cardio, milk it. As you stall, you want to slowly drop your calories, slowly increase the activity that you're doing, just so you're not doing it all at once and burning out and crashing and burning, going back to old habits, falling off track. I see it happen all the time. We're trying to optimize both comfort and results here. There's no point dropping to 200 calories a day and stalling faster. If you are weighing yourself and stalling week to week, you haven't changed weight, say in a week or two, maybe add an extra cardio session. Drop calories by 100. Maybe add another 2,000 steps a day. You don't want to start at 1,400 calories, 20,000 steps a day, and 2 hours of cardio a day. You will crash and burn. Step number 5, sleep. Speaking of feeling like shit, want to know why you might feel like it? Your sleep sucks. Listen to my favorite study. They took 2 groups. Both of them did this exact same exercise, ate the exact same diet. Difference is one group slept 8 hours, the other slept 5 hours. The differences were astonishing. The group sleeping 5 hours lost 60% less body fat and 60% more lean body mass than the group sleeping 8 hours. 6-0, big number. If you don't sleep well, your testosterone is going to be lower. The main stress hormone cortisol in your body is going to be higher. Don't waste your time in the gym in the kitchen. Get some sleep. Stop the late night Netflix binges. I know you do them. Stop it. It's bad. Also be consistent. Try and wake up and fall asleep around the same times to keep a good circadian rhythm. Turn off the lights a few hours before bed. Try to limit caffeine after, say, 3 p.m. And I do have some other tips and tricks that may help. First one is magnesium glycinate. I recommend magnesium glycinate at 200 to 400 milligrams before you go to bed. This is a natural mineral that most people are deficient in. And you could also try some L-theanine too, which is a amino acid which is found in a lot of teas. That has a calming effect as well. This is one of the biggest factors for weight loss. And all I'm telling you is literally to just lay down for 8 hours and you'll get shredded. Step number 6 revolves around the use of supplements, which can play a minor role in your desired fat loss goals. So here's the real truth. No supplements will ever make or break you. None of them are ever going to be necessary. They are the cherry on top. You're not just going to pop some pill and evolve into your final form, but they may give you a slight edge on becoming Super Saiyan eventually. I'll give you the good ones. Right off the bat, whey protein. Protein intake is highly beneficial as it provides satiety, helps you retain the muscle that you built, and it actually is one of the things that bro science gets right. It also has that higher thermic effect. Remember we talked about thermic effect earlier, so your body burns more calories trying to process protein than any other nutrient. So if you're getting enough protein in your diet, you should definitely just eat more of it. For personal experience, a supplement with caffeine, like coffee or a pre-workout supplement, helps a lot too. When calories are low and activity levels are high, caffeine could be a missing piece to give you a big boost in your workouts and your energy levels throughout the day. Now I mentioned cortisol before. This is the stress hormone. More stress, more cortisol. Enter ashwagandha, which helps you lower cortisol. So fat loss stresses the body. It is essentially controlled starvation. So mitigating some of the stress on your body with ashwagandha could be a big boost. It will probably help you relax a little bit. Lastly, creatine. It's a well-researched and very effective supplement that will improve your performance and definitely give your muscles some extra fullness. Very simple with this one. But again, these are the cherry on top. None of these will replace any of the other steps. So no, you cannot cancel your cardio by munching on a bottle of ashwagandha or something. Don't do that. And no, you will not get swole by snorting a tub of creatine. Also, please don't do that. My last key step, number 7, is strategic refeeds. This is the tip that's resulted in the most successful fat loss in my entire life when I implement this. But I need you to pay attention to this one because it can get a little complex. And it is strategic refeeds or diet breaks. As you lose fat, a hormone called ghrelin, in simpler terms, the hunger hormone, will increase. Think of ghrelin as a hunger gremlin. Congrats, now that's burned in your brain forever. Conversely, leptin is a satiation and fat loss hormone. It works pretty much opposite to ghrelin. As you're dieting, leptin is going to be going down. Your body is designed to resist fat loss. It wants to hold on to it for survival. But we will survive. There's a Chipotle down the street. We're gonna be fine. We wanna get shredded here. So after dieting for weeks, your willpower decreases, your energy is lower, you're tired, and it's just hard to make good decisions with your diet. So how do you bypass that? The most effective ways are diet breaks and refeeds. Okay, refeeds first. Refeeds involve 1 to 3 days of drastically increasing your carbohydrate intake. I'll give you a clear example and feel free to rewatch this to make sure it makes sense. So say your maintenance, the point where you won't gain or lose weight, is 2,500 calories. You're eating 2,000 calories for a fat loss period, which is a 500 calorie deficit. Let's say that's composed of 150 grams of carbs, 200 grams of protein, and 65 grams of fat. So you're gonna take 1 to 3 days where you're gonna eat those 2,500 calories, you're gonna boost them back up to maintenance, but you're going to adjust your macros accordingly. First, try to keep a minimum fat intake. Keep it very low, under 30 grams if you can. Keep protein close to what you normally would, maybe a little less because you are eating at maintenance, so you're not gonna risk losing muscle, maybe like 180 grams in this case. Then fill the rest of your calories with carbs. Not just any carbs though, make sure you're sticking to starchy carbs, like rice, potato, breads, pasta, cereal, stuff like that. Foods with glucose as the primary ingredient and nutrient. With this ratio, you could probably eat close to 400 grams of carbs in that day. Your body will soak this all up and be so happy. Your leptin will increase again. Your ghrelin's gonna go down. Satiety achieved, the ghrelin gremlin has been conquered. The cool thing about refeeds is that you may find yourself at a new low weigh-in a few days after you complete that refeed session. All my whoosh weights where I drop like 4 pounds in the span of like 2 days happened a couple days after those refeeds. And it's great. You have a few days where you get to eat a little bit more strategically to boost your hormones, and it has you dieting for longer, happier, and losing more fat. So here's a little refeed guide. If you're over 20% body fat, you should probably have a refeed every 2 months or so. 15 to 20% body fat every 2 to 4 weeks. 10 to 15% body fat, refeed every 1 to 2 weeks. And if you're under 10% body fat, you could even get away with doing refeeds around every 5 days. Or conversely, you could try a diet break where you're taking 1 to 2 weeks, eating back to normal just to give your body a little bit of a break from that fat loss period. And this one is pretty simple. But fat loss is about just being sustainable. This is arguably one of the most important parts of fat loss. You don't want to crash, go back to old habits, and make all the effort that you put in pointless. If you feel run down after a fat loss period, just take some time to eat more normally, but still relatively on track and healthy. This is always better than going super strict and crashing. Matter of fact, you actually get to eat more of what you love if you do follow our refeed protocol. Now go get ripped. I've done everything that I mentioned with my clients and it's proven to be very effective and beyond that, sustainable. I highly recommend you utilize the tips I've given in this video, and do let me know if you want to see a week-to-week breakdown or a day-to-day breakdown of how I would go about these fat loss periods. Or if there's any other topic you'd like to see, definitely leave a comment on the video below, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more videos on becoming your best self. And lastly, if you do need my help transforming from 25 to 8% body fat, fill my one-on-one coaching application below. And thank you. I'll see you in the next video.